preparation for your November exams now in 2023 or later on. I'm going to be going through question one, which is all the multiple choice questions. The hope is that in going through these questions, you'll be able to pick up some areas that maybe you need to revise again, or just some tricks that they might try to trick you with, or some things that you just need to keep in mind. So, we're going to go through the 5 multiple choice questions. Please feel free to let me know in the comments if you have any other questions, and I'll be working through the rest of the questions. So if we look at question one, we've got how many terms are in this expression? Okay, so let's just get this expression written out quick, just so we have it for reference. So we've got minus 3x minus 1 cubed, add x minus x4 divided by x squared. Okay, the important thing to remember with terms is the definition of a term is it can be a variable. So it could be x, y, z, anything like that is a term. It can be a constant, so a number. So 1, 2, 3, that is a term. And then the other thing where they try and maybe trick you out, or you might forget this, is anything that has a times or a divide in between it is a term. Okay, so if we look at, let's just get a different color. If we look at these ones that we've been given, we can see we've got a bracket here. So we need to try figure out this one, see how many terms that actually is. We've got this x standing by itself. So that x would just be a term. Okay, so let's label that. That's definitely going to be a term. We know that for sure. And then this is where they would try to trick you out. We've got this divide symbol here. So whenever we have a divide symbol, anything that's on either side of it, so this x4 and this x squared, it's all part of the same term. So that is going to be one term. Because it's got that divide between it, it makes it one term. Okay, so that's why they put that there to try make it look like it's a few, but it's just one. If we just look at this bracket quick, if I was to expand this bracket, I would get minus 3x minus 1 times minus 3x minus 1 again, and times minus 3x minus 1. Okay, so that cube just means we timesing it by itself 3 times. Again, they're trying to trick us because it's got these times signs, means this entire thing, even though it's massive, is just one term. Okay, so this bracket is also just one term. Before this question 1.1, how many terms are this in this expression? We're going to say there are 3 terms in this expression. Okay, so our answer for this would be B. If we have a look at question 1.2 then, let me just get some more space here. Okay, so question 1.2, they say, which of the following is not an example of a rational number? So my method with these kind of questions is if they're asking me what is not a rational number, I would kind of just work through it and cross out all the ones that are rational numbers. Okay, so we'll get to the definition of a rational number in a sec. Let's just get these written down so we can cross them out. So we've got 5, root 5, 2.5, and then root 1 over 25. So a rational number is any number that we can write basically as, we can write it as a fraction, but essentially what I like to keep in mind is it doesn't have decimals that go on forever. Okay, so we could say it's got terminating decimals. So decimals that end. Okay, so what we're going to do is I would just go through these and test these. You've got a calculator, you could just plug them into your calculator. Just try see what numbers do you get out when you put them in the calculator. Okay, so obviously 5 is pretty clear that that doesn't have decimals that go on forever. So we already know from that definition that it is rational. The other thing you could say is it's a whole number, and all of the whole numbers are rational. Okay, so that one's already rational, so that can't be our answer. If we look at root 5, this is where I would put it into the calculator. Okay, so I would say, what is the square root of 5? And what we get out of the calculator is we get this really long number. So already that's our clue that this is irrational. So this really long number. Okay, and it just keeps on growing. So as soon as we get a number like that, that is our flag. Okay, this is an irrational number. If we look at 2.5, obviously that's a terminating decimal. The decimals end at the 5. So that would be a rational number. And then what I would do with this, I would also put it into your calculator. You can simplify it first. So what I would say is the square root of 1 divided by the square root of 25. You can write that as the same thing. And then square root of 1 is just 1. Square root of 25 is 5. Okay, so already that looks a lot better. If I put that into the calculator then, let's just have a quick check. So we would say 1 divided by 5, or you would just put in the fraction symbol, and we get 0.2. So again, we can see a nice terminating decimal. It ends very soon. So that one is rational. So let's just cross out this one's rational, that one's rational. And so we can see for this question, B is our irrational number. So which one is not rational? It is B. Okay, question 3. Get some more space here. If we have a look at question 3, it says choose a statement that describes how to determine the next term in this pattern. Okay, so whenever I have patterns like this, if I'm trying to find out how do I get from one to the next, what I would be doing is I would be testing. So first of all, we've got 1, and then we get to a half. Okay, so we need to see how did I get there? How did I get to a half? So I could go 1 times a half would give me a half. Okay, so that works for that one. So maybe this is our rule every time we times it by a half. Let's test it on the next term. So I go from a half, I do something, and I get to a quarter. Okay, so what I would be saying is, okay, I know I'm going to times it by something. Let's just check. At the bottom, I can go 2 times 2 would give me that 4 at the bottom. At the top, 1 times 1 would give me that 1. Okay, so again, we can see I'm timesing it by half. Then you can see we're developing a rule. We just got to test it keeps working. So we had a quarter, a quarter. Let's see if it works. Times a half. So 1 times 1 at the top gives me 1. 4 times 2 at the bottom gives me 8. So yeah, it is working. Okay, so we can then see um, our rule for this statement is going to be we multiply it by half. So we're going to have the answer is D. Okay, 2 more questions to go. If we look at question 1.4, they want us to complete this. So complete it, simplify it. We've got a calculator, but to be honest, you should be able to do these, simplify these a little bit without your calculator, just in case you don't yet have it. Let's get some space. Okay, so we've got a square root, we've got square numbers. They're trying to make it look really scary. Write it down, let's see what we can do. So 13 squared minus 5 squared. We can't really get rid of this square root symbol yet. So what I would be doing first is trying to work out what I can do with this inside the square root. Okay, so let's keep the square root. And then what I would do is I'm going to first 13 squared. Okay, so again, you got your calculator, but let's just do it for so we know we can do it. 13 times 13. Okay, that is 169. So I would write that in there instead. And then 5 squared is 5 times 5, which we all know. Okay, and that is 25. So then we've got 169 minus 25. Already that's looking a lot better. If I then do the subtraction, because again, can't really get rid of that square root yet. 169 minus 25, we've got 144. Okay, and hopefully that looks kind of familiar for you. So the square root of 144 is 12. Okay, so it looks really scary. They make it quite intimidating to begin with. But if you just break it down like this, do what you can, we're going to get our answer is C. And then last question, 1.5, we are given a table of values and we need to figure out what is the formula that represents these values. Okay, so let's just, what I would do with a question like this, I would just choose 2 values and usually you can call it laziness, you can call it clever, I don't know. I would choose 2 easy values. So I'm going to say X and Y. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to choose the easiest value to work with is usually 0. So I'm going to choose when X is 0, then Y is 1. And I'm going to be testing for each of these formulas to see which one works out. So if we get our first formula, so A, they tell us we've got Y is equal to X plus 6. So I want to test if I put in this X value of 0, do I get out this y value of 1? Because that will tell me that the formula works. If it works for one point, we can kind of assume it's going to work for all of them. So let's test it. So y is equal to x. We're going to put in 0 plus 6. And so we're going to get y is equal to 6. Okay, so when x is 0, y is 6 with this formula. So obviously that's not right. We wanted y to be 1. Okay, so we can say, right, A is not it. If we can look at B, exactly the same thing. I'm going to write down the formula. So y is minus x plus 4. And I'm going to test it now with these values, 0 and 1. So when you can say y is equal to minus 0, add 4. We work this out. We're just going to get minus 0 is just 0. Add 4 is 4. So again, x is 0, y is 4. That can't be right. Okay, we wanted x to be 1. So it can't be B. Check C quick. So I'm just going to run through it a bit quicker this time. You know the drill now. 2x minus 9. So minus 2 times 0 is 0. Minus 9. So we're going to get minus 9. Again, that can't be right. We wanted y to be 1. Okay, so we kind of know it has to be D now. And let's just test it quick. Y is 5x plus 1. So it's 5 times 0, which is 0. Add 1, which is 1. Okay, so that one is right. So when x is 0, y is 1, which is what we wanted. So D is going to be the right formula. You could run through then and test it for all the other points, make sure you get the same answer. But we can kind of assume since it didn't work for any of the other ones, it's going to have to be that formula. I really hope that helped you. As I said, I'll do some more videos. Please feel free to let me know in the comments if you have any questions.